The snow fell heavily on the night of December 15th, covering the city in a thick white blanket. Marcus Webb pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway of the Galactic Research Institute. His footsteps echoed in the silence. It was almost midnight. Marcus had worked as a janitor at this facility for 15 years. He cleaned the floors, emptied the trash bins, and wiped down the laboratory tables. The scientists barely noticed him. To them, he was invisible. Just another part of the building. Marcus was a simple man. He lived alone in a small house on the edge of the city. His wife had left him 10 years ago. He had no children, no family. Work was all he had every night. He walked these lonely hallways, doing his job quietly. Tonight felt different. As Marcus cleaned the third floor, he heard something strange. It was a soft crying sound, like a baby. He stopped and listened carefully. The sound was coming from the restricted wing, the area where only top scientists were allowed. Marcus frowned. No one should be in that wing after 10 p.m. The restricted area was locked down every night. But the crying continued, weak and desperate. He hesitated. Marcus knew he could lose his job if he went into the restricted wing without permission. But the crying sound pulled at his heart. What if someone needed help? Marcus took out his master key ring. After 15 years, he had keys to almost every room in the building. The scientists didn't know this. They thought janitors only had access to public areas. But Marcus had quietly collected spare keys over the years. Just in case of emergencies, he unlocked the heavy metal door to the restricted wing. Cold air rushed out, hitting his face like a wall of ice. Marcus shivered. Why was it so cold in there? The crying grew louder as he walked down the dark corridor. His breath turned to white fog in the freezing air. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The temperature dropped with every step he took. Marcus reached the end of the hallway. There was a door marked, "Cryo Storage Authorized Personnel Only." The crying was coming from inside. His hands shook as he searched for the right key. Finally, the lock clicked open. Inside the room, Marcus saw rows of large freezer units. The temperature gauge on the wall showed minus 20 degrees Celsius. Frost covered every surface, but there, in the corner on the bare concrete floor, was a tiny bundle wrapped in a thin blanket. Marcus ran forward, his heart pounding. He pulled back the blanket and gasped. It was a baby, but not a human baby. The child had large pointed ears that stuck out from his head. His eyes were enormous and round, filled with tears. His skin had a slight green tint, but it was turning blue from the cold. Tiny fingers reached up toward Marcus. Trembling, "Oh my God," Marcus whispered. He quickly took off his thick jacket and wrapped it around the freezing child. The baby's body felt like ice against his chest. Marcus held the child close, trying to warm him with his own body heat. The baby stopped crying and looked up at Marcus with those huge, trusting eyes. Small hands grabbed onto Marcus's shirt. That's when Marcus noticed the medical bracelet on the child's tiny wrist. He turned it to read the writing. Project designation, Subject 247. Status, failed experiment, disposal approved. Date, December 15th. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest like fire. This was today's date. They had left this innocent baby here to freeze to death. They called him a failed experiment. They had approved his disposal like he was garbage. What kind of monsters work here? Marcus said through clenched teeth. The alien baby made a soft cooing sound. His small hand touched Marcus's cheek. In that moment, something changed in Marcus's heart. He had spent 15 years feeling alone and invisible. Now this helpless child needed him. This baby was looking at him like he was the most important person in the world. Marcus made a decision. He didn't care about his job anymore. He didn't care about the consequences. He would not let this child die. "I've got you now," Marcus whispered to the baby. "I won't let anyone hurt you." The baby seemed to understand. His blue skin slowly started to return to a healthier green color. as Marcus's body heat warmed him. Marcus turned toward the door, ready to carry the child to safety. But then he heard something that made his blood run cold: footsteps. Someone was walking down the hallway toward the storage room. The footsteps were slow and deliberate. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. He quickly moved behind a row of freezer units. Holding the baby close, the door opened. A woman's voice echoed in the cold room. "I thought I heard something in here." Marcus recognized that voice. It was Dr. Helena Frost, the head scientist of the facility. She was known for being brilliant but completely without mercy. The other scientists feared her. Marcus held his breath. The baby seemed to sense the danger and stayed perfectly quiet. Through a gap between the freezer units, Marcus could see Dr. Frost's shadow moving across the wall. She walked slowly around the room, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. "Strange," she muttered. "The subject should be terminated by now." Marcus's hands tightened around the baby. Terminated. They had left this innocent child here to die. And they called it termination, Doctor. Frost walked closer to their hiding spot. Marcus could see her now. She was wearing a white lab coat. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes were cold and calculating as they scanned the room. She was only a few feet away. The baby stirred in Marcus's arms. Marcus gently rocked him, praying he wouldn't make a sound. Sweat dripped down his face despite the freezing cold, Doctor. Frost's hand reached toward the freezer unit they were hiding behind. Suddenly, her phone rang. The sharp sound echoed in the frozen room. She answered it. "What is it?" "I'm busy. Dr. Frost, we need you in Laboratory 4 immediately," a man's voice said urgently. "There's a problem with Subject 189, Doctor." Frost sighed with annoyance. "Fine. I'm coming." She took one last look around the room, then walked toward the door. "The disposal unit will handle Subject 247 in the morning anyway." The door closed. Her footsteps faded down the hallway. Marcus waited, counting to 100 before he dared to move. The baby looked up at him with those trusting eyes. Marcus looked back at the tiny face. "Your name is not Subject 247, Marcus whispered. "You're not a failed experiment. You're a child. And you deserve to live." The baby's hand gripped Marcus's finger. It was time to go. Marcus knew the building's security schedule by heart. After 15 years, he knew when the guards changed shifts, when the cameras rotated, when the loading dock was left unmonitored. He had a 10-minute window. Marcus took a deep breath, held the baby close, and stepped out of the storage room. The hallway was empty. Red emergency lights lit his path. He moved quickly but quietly toward the loading dock. The baby stayed calm, almost like he understood what Marcus was doing. His large eyes watched everything with unusual intelligence. They reached the loading dock. Marcus's old pickup truck was parked outside. Freedom was just 50 feet away. Marcus pushed open the door. Suddenly, alarm bells exploded throughout the building. Red lights flashed everywhere. A computerized voice announced, "Security breach. Subject 247 missing. Lockdown initiated. All personnel report to stations." Someone had discovered the baby was gone. Marcus ran toward his truck, the baby clutched tightly to his chest. Behind him, he heard doors slamming open, guards shouting, dogs barking. He reached his truck and yanked open the door. Just as he started the engine, 3 security vehicles pulled into the parking lot. Blocking the exit, armed guards jumped out. Pointing weapons at him, Marcus looked down at the alien baby in his arms. The child's eyes began to glow with a strange blue light, and that's when everything changed. The security guards surrounded Marcus's truck, their weapons raised and ready. Red alarm lights painted everything in blood-colored shadows. Marcus sat frozen in the driver's seat, the alien baby pressed against his chest. "Step out of the vehicle with your hands up," a guard shouted through a megaphone. His voice boomed across the empty parking lot. Marcus looked down at the baby. The child's eyes were glowing brighter now. A brilliant blue light that seemed to pulse with each heartbeat. The baby wasn't scared. He seemed calm, almost peaceful. "I'm sorry." "Little one," Marcus whispered. "I tried, but then something impossible happened." All the security vehicles' engines died at once. The headlights flickered and went dark. The guards' radios sparked and went silent. Even the building's alarm system shut down. The parking lot fell into complete darkness except for the blue glow coming from the baby's eyes. "What the hell?" A guard yelled, trying desperately to restart his vehicle. Marcus stared at the baby in amazement. The child looked up at him and made a soft cooing sound. His tiny hand touched the truck's dashboard. And suddenly the engine roared to life. Marcus didn't waste a second. He slammed his foot on the gas pedal. The truck lurched forward. Racing between the dead security vehicles, he crashed through the wooden barrier at the parking lot exit. Behind him, Marcus heard guards shouting in confusion. Their vehicle still wouldn't start. The baby had somehow killed every electronic device except Marcus's truck. "Who are you?" Marcus asked the glowing child. "What are you?" The baby just looked at him with those enormous, trusting eyes. The blue glow slowly faded, and he yawned like any normal, tired infant. Marcus drove through the empty city streets. His mind was racing. He couldn't go home. That would be the first place they'd look. He couldn't go to the police. They would just return the baby to the facility. He was completely alone. Snow continued to fall, covering the streets in white. Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned pale. Where could he go? What could he do? His phone buzzed. Marcus jumped, nearly swerving off the road. He pulled the phone from his pocket with shaking hands. It was a text message from an unknown number. "Marcus Webb, I know what you did. I know what you're carrying. Meet me at the old abandoned warehouse on 5th Street in 20 minutes. I can help you. You have no other choice." A friend. Marcus's stomach twisted with fear. How did they know his name? How did they know about the baby? This had to be a trap, but the message was right about one thing. He had no other choice. Marcus turned the truck toward 5th Street. The warehouse district was on the edge of town, where old factories and storage buildings stood empty and forgotten. It was the kind of place where bad things happened. The baby started to fuss, making small crying sounds. Marcus realized the child must be hungry. How long had he been left in that freezing room without food? "Just hold on a little longer," Marcus said softly. "I'll get you something to eat. I promise." The truck's headlights cut through the falling snow. The streets were empty. Everyone was home, safe and warm in their beds. Marcus had never felt so alone in his entire life. Finally, he saw it. The old Morrison textile warehouse loomed ahead like a giant sleeping beast. Its windows were broken, its walls covered in graffiti. The building had been abandoned for at least 10 years. Marcus parked behind the warehouse where his truck couldn't be seen from the street. He wrapped the baby tighter in his jacket and stepped out into the cold night. The snow crunched under his boots. Wind howled through the broken windows above. Marcus felt like he was walking into a horror movie. "Hello?" He called out. His voice echoed off the concrete walls. A door creaked open. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Marcus's heart hammered, but then he saw who it was. Dr. Sarah Chun. She was young, maybe 30 years old. With kind eyes behind her glasses, Marcus recognized her from the facility. She was one of the junior scientists. She had always been polite to him. Always said good morning when other scientists ignored him. "Dr. Chun?" Marcus said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "Saving both of you," Sarah said urgently. She looked around nervously. "We don't have much time. They'll track your phone soon." She reached for his phone. But Marcus pulled back. "How do I know I can trust you?" Sarah looked him directly in the eyes. "Because I'm the one who left that storage room door unlocked. I'm the one who made sure you were assigned to clean the restricted wing tonight. I've been planning this for 3 weeks. Marcus's mind reeled. You wanted me to find him? I couldn't save him myself, Sarah explained quickly. They watch the scientists too closely, but janitors, they ignore janitors. I knew if anyone would help an innocent child, it would be you. I've watched you for years, Marcus. You're a good man. The baby made a sound. And Sarah's face softened. Can I see him? Marcus hesitated, then slowly opened his jacket. The baby looked up at Sarah with his huge glowing eyes. Hello, little Zill, Sarah whispered, tears forming in her eyes. Zill? Marcus asked. That's what his parents called him, Sarah said. Before they died, she led Marcus inside the warehouse. A camping lantern provided dim light. Sarah had set up a small area with blankets, maybe supplies and medical equipment. Sit down, Sarah said. I'll explain everything, but first, let's take care of Zill. She prepared a bottle of special formula. His species can digest this. It's similar to their natural food. Zill drank hungrily, his small hands holding the bottle. Marcus watched in amazement as the baby's skin grew brighter. Healthier. Now tell me the truth, Marcus said. What is he? Why do they want him dead? Sarah sat down across from him, her face grave. Zill is the last survivor of the Chiral species. They were humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life, 3 years ago. Their planet was destroyed in an interstellar war. I never heard about this on the news, Marcus said. The government kept it secret, Sarah continued. The Chiral sent out evacuation ships, but most were destroyed. Only one escape pod made it to Earth. Inside was Zill, just a newborn. His parents had programmed the pod to find a safe world. Marcus looked down at the baby, sleeping peacefully in his arms. Why would they want to kill him? Sarah's expression turned dark. Because of what he can do. The Chiral evolved on a planet covered in electromagnetic storms to survive. They developed a natural ability to control electronic systems with their minds. That's how he shut down those security vehicles, Marcus realized. Yes, Sarah nodded. When Dr. Frost discovered his abilities, she reported them to the military. They ran tests on Zill for 2 years, horrible tests. They wanted to use his powers as a weapon. Marcus felt sick. He's just a baby. They don't care, Sarah said bitterly. But then something went wrong. Last month, during a test, Zill had a seizure. The brain scan showed unusual activity. Dr. Frost declared him brain damaged, useless. She ordered his termination. But there's nothing wrong with him, Marcus said. Looking at the peaceful sleeping child, Sarah smiled sadly. I know. I've been studying the brain scans in secret. Zill isn't brain damaged. His brain is evolving, growing more powerful. In a few years, he'll be able to do incredible things. He could connect with any computer system on Earth. He could access any network, any database, any military installation. Marcus understood. They're not afraid he's broken. They're afraid of how powerful he'll become. Exactly, Sarah said. Dr. Frost wanted to kill him before he became too powerful to control. But I couldn't let that happen. He's an innocent child. The last of his entire species. Suddenly, Sarah's phone beeped. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. What is it? Marcus asked. They've activated the hunter drones, Sarah whispered. Flying robots with thermal sensors. They can track body heat. They'll find us in minutes. Outside, Marcus heard a distant buzzing sound. Growing louder. We need to run, Sarah said. Grabbing her backpack, now, but as they rushed toward the door, the warehouse was suddenly flooded with blinding white light. A helicopter hovered above the building. A voice boomed from its speakers. This is the Federal Security Agency. You are surrounded. Release the alien subject immediately. This is your only warning. Marcus held Zill closer. The baby's eyes started glowing blue again. They found us, Sarah said, her voice shaking with fear all around the warehouse. Marcus could hear vehicles pulling up, boots hitting the ground. Weapons being loaded, they were trapped. Zil looked up at Marcus with those trusting eyes. His small hand touched Marcus's face. And suddenly, Marcus saw something in his mind. An image, a feeling. The baby was showing him a way out. "There's an old tunnel system under this warehouse," Marcus said. Surprised by his own words, "I can see it. Zil is showing me." Sarah stared at him in shock. "He's communicating with you telepathically. His abilities are developing faster than I thought. Can we reach the tunnels?" Marcus asked. "There." Sarah pointed to a rusted metal grate in the floor. They ran to it. Marcus pulled at the grate with all his strength. It was stuck. Decades of rust held it tight. Outside, the voice boomed again. "You have 60 seconds to comply." Marcus pulled harder. His muscles straining, the grate wouldn't budge. Zil reached out his small hand toward the metal. His eyes glowed brighter. The rusted bolts suddenly snapped. The grate flew open. "Down now," Sarah urged. They climbed into the dark tunnel below, just as the warehouse doors crashed open above them. Marcus pulled the grate closed, and they ran into the darkness. Behind them, they heard soldiers shouting. Flashlights sweeping the warehouse floor. They had escaped, for now. But Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The whole world would be hunting them now. And somewhere in the darkness, Zil's eyes glowed blue, showing them the way forward. The tunnel smelled like death and decay. Marcus carried Zil while Sarah led the way with a small flashlight. Water dripped from the ceiling. Rats scurried in the shadows. The darkness seemed endless. "How far do these tunnels go?" Marcus asked, his voice echoing off the wet concrete walls. "They connect to the old subway system," Sarah replied. "The city abandoned it 50 years ago. We can travel underground for miles without being seen." Behind them, they heard voices echoing down the tunnel. The soldiers had found the entrance. Flashlight beams danced on the walls behind them. "They're coming," Marcus said, panic rising in his chest. Sarah grabbed his arm. "This way, there's a junction ahead." They ran faster, splashing through puddles of foul-smelling water. Zil bounced in Marcus's arms but didn't cry. The baby seemed to understand they needed to stay quiet. They reached a place where 3 tunnels met. Sarah pointed to the left tunnel. "That one leads to." Suddenly, Zil's whole body began to glow, not just his eyes now, but his entire body radiated brilliant blue light. The light grew so bright that Marcus had to squint. "What's happening to him?" Marcus asked frantically. Sarah's eyes widened in amazement. "He's reaching out. He's connecting to something." The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. Zil raised his tiny hands, and the tunnel around them came alive. Old electrical panels that hadn't worked in decades suddenly sparked to life. Ancient lights flickered on, illuminating the entire tunnel system. Rusty metal doors groaned open, revealing passages Marcus never knew existed. But that wasn't all. Above ground, every electronic billboard in the city turned on. Every screen showed the same image, a symbol. A circle with 3 lines through it. The Kirill symbol for help. Traffic lights went haywire. Car radios all played the same frequency. A high-pitched signal that hurt human ears. Security cameras in every building turned to face the sky. Zil was calling for help. He was using every electronic device in the entire city to broadcast a message. "Impossible," Sarah whispered. "He shouldn't be able to do this, not at his age. He's only 3 years old." Marcus stared at the glowing child in his arms. "What is he trying to tell us?" Sarah pulled out her phone. The screen showed a map. "He's showing us something. Look, there's a location marked here." The map pointed to an old radio tower on the edge of the city. "Why would he want us to go there?" Marcus asked. Before Sarah could answer, the soldiers burst into the junction. "Freeze! Put the subject down!" But Zil's light grew even brighter. The soldiers' weapons suddenly sparked and died. Their flashlights exploded. Their radios melted. The men screamed and ran back the way they came, terrified. "He's protecting us," Marcus realized. "He's just a baby, but he's protecting us." Sarah's face was filled with wonder and fear. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." "I lied to you." Marcus turned to her. "What do you mean?" "Zil isn't brain damaged, and I don't think his brain is just evolving," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "I think he's been pretending to be weak. I think he's been hiding his true power all along." "Why would a baby do that?" Marcus asked. "Because his parents taught him," Sarah explained. "Before they died, they programmed survival instincts into his genetic memory. Hide your power until you find someone you can trust, someone who will protect you, not because of what you can do, but because of who you are." Marcus looked down at Zil. The baby's glow was fading now. He looked tired. His big eyes were drooping with exhaustion. "He chose you, Marcus," Sarah continued. "Out of everyone in that facility, all the scientists, all the guards, he waited for you. He knew you would save him." Tears filled Marcus's eyes. For 15 years, he'd felt invisible, worthless, just a janitor nobody noticed. But this incredible being had seen something in him that no one else had. "We need to reach that radio tower," Sarah said, looking at her phone. "I think I know what Zil is planning." "What?" Marcus asked. Sarah's expression was grave. "He's calling home. There are other Kirill survivors out there, scattered across the galaxy. Zil is sending out a signal, telling them he's alive, telling them Earth is safe." Marcus's heart raced. "You mean aliens are coming here?" "Not invading," Sarah quickly explained. "Seeking refuge. The Kirill are peaceful. They just need a new home. But if the government finds out, they'll start a war." Marcus finished. Sarah nodded. "They'll kill Zil and shoot down any Kirill ships that approach Earth. We're the only ones who can stop that from happening." Zil made a soft sound and touched Marcus's face. In that touch, Marcus saw a vision. He saw Zil's planet before it was destroyed. Beautiful cities of light, peaceful people who valued knowledge and art. He saw Zil's parents, their love for their son, their desperate hope that he would survive. He saw the war that destroyed everything, the explosions, the fear, the desperate escape. And he saw the future, Kirill survivors finding Earth, bringing gifts of technology and wisdom, humans and Kirill living together in peace. But he also saw the other path, the dark future where fear won, where Zil died alone, where the last chance for peace between species was lost forever. "I understand now," Marcus whispered. "This isn't just about saving one baby. This is about saving two species from making a terrible mistake." Sarah smiled. "Now you see what I see." Distant sirens echoed through the tunnels. More soldiers were coming, more weapons, more people who saw Zil as a threat instead of a miracle. "Can we make it to the radio tower?" Marcus asked. Sarah checked her phone. "It's 10 miles from here. We'd need a vehicle, and every cop in the city is looking for us." Zil's hand glowed softly. He pointed up. "He's showing us something again," Marcus said. They climbed up a rusty ladder that led to a maintenance access point. They emerged in an underground parking garage. Sitting there, engine running, was a delivery truck, empty, keys in the ignition. "He called it here," Sarah said in awe. "He took control of a self-driving vehicle." They climbed into the truck. Marcus laid Zil on the seat beside him. The baby was breathing heavily, exhausted from using so much power. "Is he okay?" Marcus asked, worried. "He's tired," Sarah said, checking Zil's pulse. "What he did required enormous energy. He needs to rest." As they drove toward the radio tower, Marcus noticed something. The streets were empty, no police, no roadblocks. "Where is everyone?" he asked. Sarah looked at her phone and gasped. "Zil, he's creating false signals. He's sending every police car and military vehicle in the opposite direction. He's giving us a clear path. A 3-year-old baby is outsmarting the entire city's security system," Marcus said in disbelief. "He's not just any baby," Sarah reminded him. "He's the last hope of an entire civilization." They drove through the snowy night. The radio tower loomed ahead like a metal giant reaching toward the stars. But as they got closer, Marcus saw something that made his blood run cold. Armed soldiers surrounded the tower, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They had tanks, helicopters, weapons Marcus had never seen before. And standing in front of them all was Dr. Helena Frost. She was waiting for them. It was a trap. Marcus slammed on the brakes. The delivery truck skidded to a stop 2 blocks from the radio tower. Through the windshield, he could see Dr. Frost standing under the bright military spotlights. She was smiling. "She knew we were coming," Sarah whispered, her face pale with fear. "How?" Marcus demanded. "How did she know?" Sarah looked at her phone, then threw it out the window. "I'm an idiot. She was tracking my phone the whole time. She let us escape. She wanted us to lead her to the tower." Zil stirred on the seat. His eyes opened, and for the first time, Marcus saw fear in them, real fear. The baby pointed behind them. Marcus turned and saw headlights, dozens of them. Black vehicles racing toward them from every direction. They were boxed in. "We're trapped," Sarah said, her voice breaking. But Marcus wasn't ready to give up. He'd spent 15 years being invisible, being pushed around, being ignored. Not anymore. Not when this innocent child needed him. "Hold on," Marcus growled. He shifted the truck into reverse and punched the gas. The truck shot backward, crashing through a chain-link fence. They bounced across an empty lot, metal screaming, glass shattering. "What are you doing?" Sarah screamed. "Something stupid," Marcus replied. He spun the wheel. The truck turned sharply. Now they were racing away from the tower, away from Dr. Frost's army. The black vehicles chased after them like hungry wolves. Bullets pinged off the truck's metal frame. The back window exploded. Sarah ducked down, covering Zil with her body. Marcus drove like a madman, taking corners too fast, running red lights. The truck wasn't built for speed, but fear gave him wings. "We can't outrun them forever," Sarah shouted over the sound of gunfire. Zil's eyes began to glow again. The baby reached toward the dashboard. His tiny fingers touched the truck's computer system. Suddenly, the truck's engine roared with impossible power. The speedometer climbed. 60, 70, 90 miles per hour. The old delivery truck was moving like a race car. "He's overriding the engine limits," Sarah said in amazement. Behind them, the black vehicles struggled to keep up. But then Marcus heard a new sound. The thump-thump-thump of helicopter blades. 2 military helicopters dropped from the sky, following them. Spotlights painted the street in harsh white light. "Attention! Stop your vehicle immediately. This is your final warning," a voice boomed from above. Marcus didn't stop. He couldn't stop. They raced through the industrial district. Zil guided him with small gestures. Left, right, straight. The baby seemed to know exactly where they needed to go. Then Marcus saw it ahead, the old river bridge. It was the same bridge that had collapsed 5 years ago, the one the city had condemned. The one with warning signs and barriers blocking the entrance. "No, no, no." Sarah saw where they were heading. "Marcus, that bridge is broken. We'll die." "Trust him," Marcus said, looking at Zil. The baby's eyes glowed brighter. His small hand pointed forward. Marcus crashed through the barriers. The truck flew onto the bridge. Metal groaned under their weight. Old concrete crumbled. The helicopters pulled up, refusing to follow. The black vehicle skidded to a stop at the bridge entrance. "The bridge won't hold," Sarah cried. "We're too heavy." She was right. Behind them, sections of the bridge began to collapse, falling into the dark river below. The destruction chased them like a wave. Marcus pressed the gas pedal to the floor. 50 feet from the other side. 40 feet. 30. The bridge collapsed. For one terrible moment, they were airborne. Flying through space, the truck's wheels spun uselessly in the air. Then they crashed down on solid ground. The impact threw them forward. Airbags exploded. Metal crunched. Behind them, the entire bridge fell into the river with a massive splash. Marcus's head spun. His ribs ached. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. But he was alive. "Sarah? Zil?" he called out. "We're okay," Sarah groaned from the passenger seat. She was holding Zil tight. The baby was crying but unhurt. Marcus looked back at the river. The black vehicles were stuck on the other side. The helicopters circled overhead but couldn't land. "We bought ourselves some time," Marcus said. Sarah pointed ahead. "Look." Through the cracked windshield, Marcus saw where they had landed, an old abandoned airport, and sitting on the runway, covered in rust and weeds, was a small passenger plane. "Can you fly?" Sarah asked. "No," Marcus admitted. "Can you?" "No," Sarah said. Zil made a sound. His eyes glowed. The baby was looking at the plane. "Oh no," Marcus said. "Please tell me he's not suggesting what I think he's suggesting." The plane's engine suddenly coughed to life. Lights flickered on inside the cockpit. "He can control the plane," Sarah realized. "He can fly us out of here." Marcus stared at the ancient aircraft. "That thing hasn't flown in 20 years. It'll fall apart." Zil looked up at Marcus with those trusting eyes. His small hand reached out. Marcus sighed. "I really hope you know what you're doing, little guy." They climbed out of the wrecked truck, running across the abandoned airport. Behind them, they heard the helicopters getting closer. They reached the plane and scrambled inside. The interior smelled like mold and decay. Seats were torn, windows cracked. Marcus sat in the pilot's seat. Sarah strapped Zil into a seat beside her. "I can't believe we're doing this," Marcus said. The plane's controls moved by themselves. Guided by Zil's power, the engines roared louder. "Incoming!" Sarah screamed. One of the helicopters was diving toward them. A soldier leaned out with a rocket launcher. "Go, go, go!" Marcus shouted. The plane lurched forward, racing down the runway, faster and faster. The helicopter fired. The rocket streaked toward them, missing by inches. It exploded behind them, shaking the ground. The plane lifted into the air. Climbing higher, Zil's eyes blazed with blue light, his small body trembling with effort. They were flying through the window. Marcus saw the city falling away below them. The helicopters tried to follow but couldn't match their speed. "We did it," Sarah laughed, half crazy with relief. "We actually did it." But then the plane's engine coughed, sputtered. Warning lights filled the cockpit, red and angry. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked. Sarah's smile disappeared. "We're running out of fuel. This plane has been empty for 20 years. The engine died." They were 3,000 feet in the air, and they were falling. Zil looked at Marcus, his glowing eyes filled with sadness. The baby had saved them from the bridge, but he couldn't save them from this. They were going to crash, and this time, there would be no escape. The plane fell through the night sky like a wounded bird. Marcus gripped the controls, even though they were useless. Wind screamed past the broken windows. The ground rushed up to meet them. "We're going to die," Sarah whispered, holding Zil close. But the baby wasn't scared. His eyes glowed brighter than ever before. His small body trembled with power. Zil raised both hands toward the sky. Suddenly, every electronic device within 5 miles responded to his call. Car batteries, power lines, cell phone towers, even the electricity in people's homes. All of it surged toward them. Blue lightning danced across the plane's metal frame. The dead engine roared back to life, not with fuel, but with pure electrical energy. The plane leveled out just 50 feet from the ground. They glided over a forest, treetops brushing the bottom of the aircraft. "Impossible," Sarah breathed. "He's powering the entire plane with electromagnetic energy." Marcus's hands shook on the controls. How long can he keep this up? He looked back at Zil. The baby's skin was glowing so bright it hurt to look at him. Small veins of blue light traced across his face. He was using more power than his tiny body could handle. "He's burning himself out," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "If he doesn't stop, he'll die." "Zil, stop," Marcus begged. "We'll find another way." But the baby kept going. His eyes met Marcus's. In that moment, Marcus understood. Zil would rather die than let them crash. This child loved them more than his own life. "There," Sarah pointed ahead. "An open field, we can land there." The plane descended. Zil guided them down with trembling hands. They hit the ground hard, bouncing twice. The landing gear collapsed. They skidded across the frozen field in a shower of sparks. Finally, they stopped. Silence. Marcus unbuckled and rushed to Zil. The baby had stopped glowing. His skin was pale, his breathing shallow. "No, no, no," Marcus lifted the child. "Stay with me, Zil, please." Zil's eyes fluttered open. He was so weak he could barely move. But he smiled, a tiny, beautiful smile. "You saved us again," Marcus whispered, tears falling on the baby's face. "You keep saving us." Sarah checked Zil's pulse. "His heart rate is dropping. He used too much energy. He needs medical help." "Where?" Marcus looked around at the empty field. We're in the middle of nowhere. Sarah pulled out a backup phone from her jacket. I'm calling someone I trust, another scientist who knows about ZIL. She can help. Can we trust her? Marcus asked. We have no choice. Sarah dialed the number. While they waited, Marcus held ZIL close, trying to keep him warm. The baby's skin felt cold. His breathing grew weaker. Don't leave me, Marcus whispered. I just found you. Don't leave me. ZIL's small hand touched Marcus's cheek. Images flooded Marcus's mind again. But this time they were different. He saw himself through ZIL's eyes, not as a janitor, not as someone invisible, but as a hero, a father, the most important person in the universe. He saw the future ZIL dreamed of, growing up safe, learning to use his powers for good, helping humans and Kirill live together in peace. All because one man chose kindness over fear. I see it too, Marcus said softly. I see what we can be, but you have to live, ZIL. You have to stay strong. Headlights appeared in the distance, a vehicle racing toward them across the field. Sarah tensed. That was too fast. My friend couldn't get here this quickly. The vehicle skidded to a stop. Doors opened. Armed soldiers poured out. And then Dr. Frost stepped into view. Hello, Marcus, she said coldly. Did you really think you could escape? Marcus stood, placing himself between ZIL and the soldiers. Stay back, Doctor, Frost laughed. You're a janitor holding a dying alien. I have 20 armed soldiers. What exactly do you think you can do? Whatever it takes, Marcus said, his voice steady. How touching. Doctor. Frost stepped closer. But pointless. The creature is dying anyway. Let me take him. I'll make his death quick and painless. His name is ZIL, Marcus said, and he's not a creature. He's a child. He's a weapon, Dr. Frost corrected. A dangerous, uncontrollable weapon. Look what he did to the city. Power grids failing, vehicles crashing. He caused chaos. He was protecting himself. Sarah argued, you tried to murder him. I tried to protect humanity, Doctor. Frost's eyes blazed with conviction. His kind are too powerful, too dangerous. If more of them come to Earth, they could enslave us all with a thought. Or they could help us, Marcus said. Share their knowledge, their technology. But you're too afraid to see that. Doctor, Frost signaled her soldiers. They raised their weapons. I'm done talking, she said. Hand over the alien, or I'll order my men to open fire on all three of you. Marcus looked down at ZIL. The baby's eyes were closed now, his breathing barely visible. He thought about his life, 15 years of loneliness, of feeling worthless, of being invisible. And then this child came into his world and changed everything. ZIL had seen worth in him when no one else did. This baby had trusted him, loved him, needed him. Marcus made his decision. No, he said simply. Frost's face hardened. Then you'll die with him. She raised her hand to give the order. But before she could speak, the ground began to shake. Everyone stumbled. The soldiers looked around in confusion. What's happening? Frost demanded. The sky above them began to glow, not with stars, but with ships, dozens of them. Descending through the clouds, Kirill ships. They were elegant and beautiful, made of materials that seemed to shift between solid and light. They surrounded the field, hovering silently. Impossible, Dr. Frost whispered. The signal. We blocked the signal. You blocked radio waves, Sarah said, a smile spreading across her face. But ZIL didn't use radio waves. He used quantum entanglement. He spoke directly to the Kirill consciousness across light years of space. The largest ship landed. A door opened. Light poured out. And figures emerged, tall, graceful beings with the same large eyes and pointed ears as ZIL. They wore robes that glowed with soft colors. One of them walked forward. She had tears streaming down her face. My sister's child, she said in perfect English, her voice like music. You kept him alive. You protected him when your own kind wanted him dead. She knelt before Marcus. You gave us hope, Janitor of Earth. You showed us that your species is capable of love, not just fear. Doctor, Frost backed away. This is an invasion. No, the Kirill woman said, standing. We come seeking only refuge and friendship, but if you threaten us, if you threaten this child again, her eyes glowed with power, you will learn why our enemies feared us. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Even they could feel the raw power radiating from the Kirill. The woman gently took Zil from Marcus's arms. She pressed the baby to her chest. Her body glowed, sharing her energy with him. Zil's eyes opened. His color returned. He was healing. "Thank you," the woman said to Marcus. "You will always be family to us." Tears ran down Marcus's face. "Will he be okay?" "More than okay," she smiled. "Because of you," Dr. Frost tried to run. But Kirill surrounded her. "You will answer for your crimes," the woman said. "Not just to us, but to your own people. The world will know what you did." Marcus watched as Zil was carried back to the ship. The baby looked back at him one last time, those trusting eyes filled with love. The invisible janitor had saved the universe, and nothing would ever be the same. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Part 6. The New Beginning. 3 months had passed since that night in the field. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Marcus stood on the balcony of his new apartment, watching the sunrise. But he wasn't alone anymore. The city below was different now. Kirill ships floated peacefully beside human aircraft. Alien and human walked the streets together. The door behind him opened. Sarah stepped out carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You're up early again," she said, handing him a cup. "Couldn't sleep," Marcus admitted. "I keep thinking about everything that happened." Sarah smiled. "Still feels like a dream, doesn't it?" It did feel like a dream. After the Kirill arrived, everything moved fast. Dr. Frost was arrested and put on trial. The world learned the truth about what happened at the research facility. People were outraged. The government apologized. New laws were created to protect alien refugees. The Kirill shared their technology. Cures for diseases, clean energy, advanced computers. But they asked for only one thing in return: that Marcus Webb be allowed to remain in Zil's life. "He's awake," a musical voice said behind them. Marcus turned to see Lyra, Zil's aunt. She had become a friend over these past months, teaching Marcus about Kirill culture and helping him adjust to his new role. Marcus walked inside. In the living room, sitting on a specially designed floating cushion, was Zil. The baby had grown. He was healthier now, stronger. His eyes sparkled with intelligence beyond his years. "Papa Marcus," Zil said, his voice clear and bright. Marcus's heart melted every time he heard those words. "Good morning, little one." Zil floated over to him. The baby had learned to control his powers better. He could move objects, control electronics, even fly short distances. "Today's special day," Zil said in his simple way of speaking. He was learning English quickly, but still spoke like a young child. "Yes, it is," Marcus said, lifting Zil into his arms. "Today we go to the ceremony." The United Nations had organized a special event, a celebration of human and Kirill friendship. Leaders from every country would be there, and Marcus had been asked to speak. "I don't know if I can do this," Marcus confessed to Sarah. "I'm just a janitor. What do I know about giving speeches?" "You're not just a janitor," Sarah said firmly. "You're the man who saved the future. You're the bridge between 2 species. You're a hero, Marcus." Marcus looked at himself in the mirror. He wore a new suit. His hair was cut. He looked different, but inside, he still felt like the same invisible man who used to push a cleaning cart. "You changed everything," Lyra said gently. "Not with weapons or power, but with simple kindness. That is why the Kirill chose to trust humanity, because of you." Hours later, Marcus stood on a stage in front of thousands of people. Cameras from every nation pointed at him. World leaders sat in the front row. His hands shook. Zil sat beside him in a special chair. The baby's presence gave him courage. Marcus cleared his throat and began to speak. "3 months ago, I was nobody," he said, his voice echoing across the silent crowd. "I cleaned floors, I emptied trash. People looked through me like I was invisible. I thought my life didn't matter." He looked down at Zil. The baby smiled at him. "Then I found a child left to freeze in a storage room. A baby that powerful people called worthless, broken, dangerous. They wanted him dead. But when I looked at him, all I saw was innocence. All I saw was a child who needed help." The crowd listened in complete silence. "I'm not special," Marcus continued. "I didn't save Zil because I'm brave or smart. I saved him because it was the right thing to do. Any decent person would have done the same." He paused, tears filling his eyes. "But that's the lesson, isn't it? We all have the power to change the world, not with money or weapons or technology, but with simple choices, choosing kindness over cruelty, choosing love over fear, choosing to help instead of looking away." Zeal's hand glowed softly. Images appeared in the air above the stage. Holographic projections showing the Kirel planet before it was destroyed. Beautiful cities, happy families, children playing. Then the images showed the war, the destruction, the desperate escape. Finally, the images showed Marcus finding Zeal in that cold room. The moment their lives changed forever. "The Kirel came to us as refugees," Marcus said. "Broken, alone, afraid. We could have turned them away. We could have seen them as threats. But instead, we chose to see them as what they really are. People, just like us. Wanting safety, wanting peace, wanting a future for their children." He lifted Zeal into his arms. "This baby taught me that the smallest act of kindness can change the universe. He taught me that every life has value, every person matters, even invisible janitors, even alien children that others call worthless." The crowd erupted in applause. People stood, cheering, crying. Marcus looked out at them all. "We stand at the beginning of a new age. Humans and Kirel together. Let's make sure we get it right. Let's choose kindness, always." As the ceremony ended, people swarmed Marcus, wanting to shake his hand, to thank him. World leaders asked for photographs, but Marcus only cared about one thing. He held Zeal close, the baby who had given his life meaning. "Love you, Papa Marcus," Zeal whispered. "I love you too," Marcus whispered back. Later that night, back in his apartment, Marcus stood on the balcony again. The city sparkled below. Human lights mixed with the soft glow of Kirel technology. Sarah joined him. "What are you thinking about?" "About how one moment can change everything," Marcus said. "If I hadn't heard Zeal crying that night, if I had ignored it and kept cleaning, if I had been too afraid to help." "But you didn't," Sarah reminded him. "You chose courage. You chose love." Marcus smiled. "We both did. You risked everything to help us escape. And look where it led." Sarah gestured at the city. "To this. To peace, to hope." Inside, Zeal was sleeping peacefully, safe and loved. Tomorrow he would start school, learning alongside human children, building friendships that would last a lifetime. Marcus thought about his old life, the loneliness, the feeling of being worthless. All of that was gone now. He had found purpose. He had found family. He had found himself. The invisible janitor had become visible, not because the world finally noticed him, but because he had noticed himself. He had seen his own worth reflected in a child's trusting eyes, and that made all the difference. As stars appeared in the sky above, human stars and Kirel ships shining together, Marcus made a silent promise. He would spend the rest of his life teaching others what Zeal had taught him. That kindness is the most powerful force in the universe, that every life matters, that love can bridge any distance. The journey had been terrifying, dangerous, impossible, but it had also been beautiful, and it was only the beginning. Somewhere in the apartment, Zeal stirred in his sleep. His eyes glowed softly blue, dreaming of the future, a future where two species lived as one, a future built on the foundation of one man's simple choice: to save a child.